Kansas City Chiefs are still undefeated on the season after a thrilling overtime victory in Week 9. They now get to host their division rival, the Denver Broncos, which has been one of the more surprising teams of the season here in Week 10. My name is Tyler, here with my brother Ryan. We're going to break down this Week 10 matchup between the Broncos and Chiefs and give our predictions at the very end of the video. But before we get into that, Ryan and I, we can't believe that we're saying this, but we're actually 200-ish subscribers away from 5,000 for the channel. Thank you to all the new members that have joined during this season so far. Let's see during this Week 10 prediction video series we have going out if we can hit that 5,000 subscriber mark. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment. Let us know who you think will win and why. And Ryan, we'll say Denver Broncos have played really well this season, coming off a tough loss. I think it's weird to say. I know it was a 41-10 loss, but I think that game was much closer than the score actually would lead on to say. There were a couple explosive plays that they gave up to Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, and then also too, they could have had more points on the board, but just couldn't get the ball in the end zone in the fourth quarter with turnover on downs late in the fourth quarter. I guess you can maybe make an argument garbage time, but still though, I thought they played decently well against the Ravens team. Just gave up too many explosive plays and just got down too big in the middle part of the game. They're going to be going up against the Kansas City Chiefs team, which is the last undefeated team in the league. Good win in Week 9 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Didn't really play all that great. I actually thought that they were not the better team for a majority of the game, but in the second half, started to pick things up and were the back-to-back Super Bowl champs that we all remember them as being. I will say, I think DeAndre Hopkins will probably be the win in the entire. And when we talk about the trade deadline and all the trades that go on, I think DeAndre Hopkins is going to pay off significantly for his Chiefs team. But want to throw it over to you here. The Denver Broncos are probably most definitely going to be the underdogs going into this matchup. What do you think they need to do to pull off the upset here in Kansas City?
Yeah, so I actually think that they match up fairly well. I think you look, this defensive front gets after the passer pretty well. They have Pat Surtain that can neutralize their top option, whoever they really want him to be on, whether that's Xavier Worthy, DeAndre Hopkins. I think this is a team that knows Kansas City pretty well, having played them the last few years. And I actually think, too, this is a good offensive line. They have pretty good offensive weapons that they can use to target matchups with. So, I think Denver can win this game. I do not think that this is out of the realm of possibility for Denver, especially I talked about this in the Buccaneers video as well. But Kansas City is coming off a Monday night game that went into overtime. That was a pretty tough, grueling game if you think about it, with the rain coming in the fourth quarter. That was a physical game. So rest time does usually play have a decent impact on the outcome of games, and Denver is coming off a regular week, and Kansas City is coming off about 36 less hours of recovery. So it's going to be a really interesting matchup. I think for me, Denver need to create some turnovers. Patrick Mahomes has shown throughout this year that he is willing to just kind of throw some balls up for grabs at times. Stopping this run is going to be really, really important, and putting a lot of the pressure on these receivers to go and make plays. And then just picking your matchups effectively on the offensive side of the ball. This is going to be Bo Nix's probably biggest challenge yet in terms of defenses. And I think he's going to to me, could lose this game for the Broncos.
Potentially. For a rookie quarterback, yeah, he's still learning the league as well. I will say one thing too, kind of looking at this Tampa Bay game tonight. Offensively, I feel like the Broncos' offense might play a similar type of way again, and I feel like they have been as what the Buccaneers had to do tonight, just with the injuries they had, which is a lot of quick passes, allow Bo Nix, he'll have his read, not allow him. Or not allow the defense the opportunity to get to him extremely quickly. And so a lot of checkdowns get the ball to Cortland Sutton really quickly, or to Javonte Williams, or Jaleel McLaughlin as well. Troy Franklin is also another weapon that they have. And so the big guy is going to be Cortland Sutton, and then they have a good cast of role players as well. I think that's the thing I like the most about just looking at the Broncos stats throughout the season is just their dispersion to all the guys as well, including Bo Nix, who caught a touchdown in their last game from Cortland Sutton. So the normal Bo Nix, Cortland Sutton combo that we're used to seeing, just in the wrong order, I guess, on the stat sheet. But I think that they play efficient ball. As we've said kind of before, they need to stay in phase. They don't want to get behind the chains, or kind of as what happened in the Baltimore game, get down a couple scores and then have to play the type of football that they don't really want to play, which is a very heavy pass dose of, Bo Nix has got to make a lot of reads to try and move the ball down the field effectively. They're going to want to control the clock. On the flip side, though, is I think, as what you said earlier, I do think they match up decently well against the Chiefs team. Broncos are one of the better defenses in the league. We saw the Chiefs had a lot of trouble, especially in the first half of the game, going up against a tough defensive line in Tampa Bay, getting after Patrick Mahomes, putting a lot of pressure on him. And then Broncos are definitely better in the secondary. I mean, Patrick Tan alone is going to be significantly better than what the Buccaneers offer in the secondary. So he's going to.
Molly Moss is having a good year also. They have a lot of good guys in that secondary.
Yeah. No. They have a lot of good guys, as Devin Key, Cody Parton, Malcolm Roach as well, Quan Alexander. There's a lot of good guys that have been playing well, and honestly, props to you Broncos fans. You guys have been calling us out in the comments, just on hey, this guy's playing well, this guy's playing well, and you guys are right. They're 5-3 for 5-4. My apologies. They're 5-4 for a reason, and this is a tough rivalry too. This has been a tough time for Patrick Mahomes. They did lose to the Denver Broncos last year when it was Russell Wilson. It was in Denver. I'm pretty sure they didn't lose to them twice. Let me double check here real quick. I guess that pulls up their last year's stats. No, and then they beat the and then they beat the Denver Broncos at the end of the season last year as well. So I'm pretty sure it's from the same year, but I still believe, though, that it is going to be a tough matchup overall for both teams to move just the ball down the field. I feel like this is going to be a lower scoring game. Chiefs have also kind of played a similar type of ball to kind of what I said Bo Nix has played. They have maybe a little bit more explosive play capability. We saw it a couple times on Xavier Worthy. Should have scored the touchdown on the first drive of the game, but he just kind of lost track of where he was. But it's almost kind of they lull you to sleep in these little check down passes or running the ball pretty effectively with Kareem Hunt. And the next thing you know, that's where that play action comes in. And then they hit somebody up the seam. It is going to be interesting to see how DeAndre Hopkins, the more he plays with Patrick Mahomes, he might never want to leave Kansas City, and Kansas City might never want him to leave, especially too after the receiving situation they've gone through over the past year and a half. So I think that combo could get very deadly as well, especially too because Travis Kelce's still one of the better tight ends in the league. He's performed well ever since Rashee Rice and some of these other injuries have occurred in the receiving room. Him and Patrick Mahomes have kind of shown everybody that they're still one of the better receiving connections in the league. So this is going to be a phenomenal game. I agree with you. The Broncos, I think they have a chip on their shoulder, especially after how the game against the Baltimore Ravens ended last week. I think it's going to be a much closer game. I don't think the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs. They can blow them out, but I think it's going to be more kind of like a victory how it was against the Saints. Like if they do get a lead, I think it's going to be tough for the Broncos to come back because the Chiefs seem to have a really good time being able to control the clock and kind of hang on to the ball and kind of manage the game with the lead. Now that being said, though, if the Broncos are able to get the lead early on, then it is going to be interesting to see how both of these teams go up against one another because that's also the way the Broncos play as well. They have one of the better running teams and better offensive lines in the league also. And so it's going to be a fun matchup. Sean Payton versus Andy Reid. Hopefully a rivalry that we continue to keep on seeing as both of these teams continue to be maybe some of the top in the AFC.
Yeah. And that for me, I think I guess we'll get into predictions here. I'm going with Kansas City. I do think that they are the better team, especially I think this is Bo Nix's first matchup with Steve Spagnuolo. And so that to me, I think is just, I lean Kansas City that way, but they did get a win last year and Denver was not that good of a team last year. And it was in the midst of that win streak when Russell Wilson had actually was playing slightly below average football instead of bottom quarterback in the league football. And so they were able to hold them to 9 points. This defense is very good for Denver. And I do think this is actually going to be probably a slightly boring game, a pretty low scoring matchup. I'm going to go Kansas City 21-17.
Well, I would just say boring. I mean, because I've seen 10-7 games that are not boring at all. But I feel like it might be that kind of game where it's going to be really interesting to see like kind of the chess match between Patrick Mahomes and Andrew Reid versus Sean Payton and Bo Nix, and then the Broncos defense as well. I think that's where it's going to be. The
maybe boring is not. Maybe boring is not the right word. There's going to be a lot of punts. I feel like there's going to be probably a few turnovers here and there. Like it's just not going to be a high scoring game. So
yeah. And that's why I'm actually going to go with the away team here. Also, we needed to disagree on one game this week so far, and so I feel the Chiefs are due for a loss. They've played 2 AFC West games so far. I want to make sure they had a tough time against the Chargers, who have a good defense as well, and also to the Raiders, who have one of the better defensive lines when healthy with Max Crosby, and that game was pretty close also. So this is an AFC West matchup. I think this Denver Broncos defense is going to make it very difficult for Patrick Mahomes and this team. I think the Pat Surtain DeAndre Hopkins matchup is going to be one to watch. I think Riley Moss and then the rest of this defense as well is going to make it tough for the Chiefs to move the ball down the field. I really feel even in tonight as well, didn't think, especially in that first half, felt like they just weren't and I would say at minimum they were equal to the Buccaneers. And I think maybe they're just about to go through a tiny little stretch that some teams go through. I mean, we saw the Bills earlier. We see with the 49ers now where they're dealing with the injury bug.
I think the 49ers last year, they were 6-0, and then they went on like a 3-game skid.
Yeah. And I'm not saying they're going to go on a 3-game skid. I just think maybe it's going to be one of those games where the Chiefs maybe they had a long Monday Night Football game tonight, going to be a shortened week. I think the Broncos, and they're going to want to bounce back after what some would say an embarrassing loss. I know I just said earlier in this video that it was closer than what the score actually said it was. But you still lost by 31 points. So I think Bo Nix and the Broncos, I think they're going to shock some people here. And I think they're going to give the Chiefs their first loss of the season.
Okay. So we actually disagree on this one. I did not see that one coming. Let's go ahead and wrap this one up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. It is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, go ahead and leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead. Will it be the Denver Broncos? Will it be the Kansas City Chiefs? And other than that, we will see you guys next time.